Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to the FC's Football channel. And today we are back with another episode of Premier League preview this week for game week 15. Now, before we get into this week's games, shall we have a look at what's happened last time in the Premier League? So, if I quickly load up this screen, which should hopefully load, it does, we can look at last week's fixtures. So, if I get my predictions up, we can go through those as well. So in the first game of the game week, obviously, was the early kickoff where Leicester City took on Manchester City. That finished 1-0 to Manchester City. I went for 3-0 City, so I got the right team winning, but it wasn't a great prediction, was it? Bournemouth versus Spurs was next. Bournemouth obviously took a 2-goal lead in that game, but Spurs came back to win 3-2. I thought Spurs would win, would score 3 goals, but I did have them keeping a clean sheet. So, not quite right on that one. Newcastle versus Aston Villa. I actually predicted Newcastle to win that game 2-1. And what I believe would have been a closer game. I did actually believe it was Unai Emery's first game in charge. When that wasn't the case. Actually, in fact, it was the last game under caretaker management, and his first game will be this week. So I got that wrong, but 4-0 Newcastle. I went, like I say, 2-1. Brighton versus Chelsea. I thought Chelsea would win the game. I thought Graham Potter, going back to his former club, would have the number of Brighton. That wasn't the case at all, was it? Brighton winning 4-1 in that game. Crystal Palace Southampton. I went for a 1-1 draw. It finished 1-0. I was close, not close enough. Brentford versus Wolves finished 1-1. I had that as a 2-1 Brentford. So again, I was close, not close enough. Fulham versus Everton, which was the late kickoff last Saturday. That finished 0-0. I had it finishing 1-0 Everton. So a lot of these, I'm pretty close. Only a goal or so out, which isn't too bad. Liverpool versus Leeds, however, was one I got completely wrong. Liverpool lost at Anfield. Van Dijk losing that home Anfield record by losing to Leeds 2-1. And both goals were shocking, really. Which, when you look at it, you think Liverpool have to do better for both those goals. Then you look at Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. I went 3-0. It finished 5-0. Arsenal were the dominant force in that game, and they thoroughly deserved each one of those 5 goals. West Ham United finished 1-0 United. I went 2-0. We beat them, and that's all that matters. Up the boys. So, obviously, with those games finishing the way they did, this is the way the Premier League table currently looks. So, Arsenal do remain top of the Premier League with 31 points from an available 36, dropping 5 points so far. Obviously, those points coming up against both Southampton and Manchester United. Manchester City then coming in second with 29 points. Tottenham in third with 26. And Newcastle make up the rest of the top 4 with 24 points. Manchester United are in 5th with 23 points, with a game in hand on both Newcastle and Tottenham. Should Manchester United win that game in hand, they will leapfrog Newcastle and will go level on points with Tottenham, having played the same amount of games, would stay 4th due to goal difference. Chelsea are in 6th. We go to mid-table where we find Liverpool in 9th, having had an awful start to this season, with the likes of Fulham and Brighton both above them. Obviously, Fulham occupying that Europa Conference League spot. Moving down into the relegation zone is where we find Leicester City with 11 points, Wolves with 10, and Nottingham Forest with 9. Now, if we're looking at this week's fixtures, obviously it's the second to last game week before the World Cup. So the World Cup is quickly approaching, and it's important that all teams get as many points on the board. And the first game of this game week is Leeds versus Bournemouth. Now, I like Leeds. They won their last game. It was an important match to win. Jesse Marsh has obviously got a lot of pressure on him right now. His job is said to be very much on the line, and I like Leeds. I like Jesse Marsch. I think they've been fairly. I think they've been better than what their 15th place position states they are. Bournemouth, look, they've still got Gary O'Neill in charge, and surely he's going to get the job full time because it doesn't seem like they're looking at anybody, and he's doing a fantastic job, Gary O'Neill. That being said, who do I see winning this game? Obviously, both did better than they expected to in their last games. While Bournemouth did lose, to have gone 2-0 up against Tottenham, they would not have never have expected that. So in a sense, I think they'll be fairly happy with the fact they did that. Yes, they lost, which is a massive disappointment, whereas Leeds did the complete opposite. They won the game in a game which again they didn't expect to win. If I'm looking at this game, I can only really kind of point it in one direction, unfortunately for Bournemouth, and that is with a Leeds win. I do think Leeds are the better team. I do think Leeds will win this game. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leeds win. Now, of course, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button below and subscribe if you are new and you haven't already. Also, please do get involved in the live chat. Let me know your score predictions down below as we go into our next game, which is Manchester City versus Fulham. And Man City are going to win the game, aren't they? Yes, they're missing Erling Haaland, who actually might be back for this game. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Erling Haaland might be back for this game. But if he's back or if he's not, Man City are, well, they're a winning machine, aren't they? Even against Sevilla, when they didn't play their best team, they played a lot of youth players. They still beat them. Man City, what they do is win. And that is going to happen again today. Or tomorrow, I should say, really. Man City will win the game. It's just a matter of how many and who will be on the score sheet. Like I said, I can't remember if Erling Haaland is definitely back or not. If he's back, it'll be by a bit even bigger margin. But I'm going to play it fairly safe and just go 2-0 Man City. If Haaland's back, it could be 4 or 5. If we're being real. Erling Haaland just has that much about him. And the thing is with Haaland, it's similar to the likes of Ronaldo in the past. Looks like Erling Haaland could be fit and available to play. The thing is with Erling Haaland, not only is he such a lethal goal scorer, he also has the gravity effect that Ronaldo and Messi have and or at least did have in the past. And the fact that because he is so good, because he can do so much, teams double up on him, which means players like Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Riyad Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne, they have one less player on them because that player's gone over to help mark Erling Haaland, try and stop him, which is so important especially for Man City, how good they are already. When you're having a player that has to be doubled up on to just try and stop, that you become an even harder team to beat. And that is what Man City are. And the website I look at when it comes to injuries and stuff says he's got a 75% chance of being fit and available to play. That's good odds. That is good odds. And Man City, you know what? With that in mind, Erling Haaland back, 3-0 City. Nottingham Forest versus Brentford is next. It's a tough one. It's really tough. Because I do like Nottingham Forest. I think they've got a good group of players there. I think they're not as bad as a lot of people, as the league table makes them out to be. And Brentford, they're 11th. They're doing really well for themselves. Obviously, Nottingham Forest did get a beating in their last game, while Brentford, they got a draw against Wolves. They'll certainly take that if you're a Brentford fan, sorry. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be fairly close in my opinion. I do think either side can nick it. I think at the Forest ground, they could do something, you know. I just have that thing inside me that thinks they could do something there. And because of that, 2-1 Nottingham Forest. That is big from me. I'm going 2-1 Forest. I just think they've got it in them. The Forest ground is a fortress. When the fans get on side, they get behind that team, they are a different animal. And I think they can do that. They need to bounce after that poor performance and result against Nottingham Forest, against Arsenal, sorry. I think they will. Like I say, 2-1 Nottingham Forest. Wolves versus Brighton. I just don't think Wolves are that great. And I do fear for them. Why they've got that Sasa, how do you pronounce his name? How do you spell it? Sasa Kalajdzic out. While he's out, I don't see goals in this Forest team at all. Diego Costa's suspended. Matthias Nunes, who was one of their best players. What a midfielder he is, by the way. He's out. Pedro Neto's out. Jimenez is out. They've just got everybody out. Wolves. They're second to bottom. Yeah, second to bottom in the league. Brighton come into the game having just beaten Chelsea. Wolves aren't getting a thing from this game. I think the only thing that might save Wolves, is Brighton isn't great in front of goal. And Wolves at times can be good defensively. But still, I'm going 2-0 Brighton. I really don't see a way in which Wolves win this game for one. They could get a result. They could get a 0-0 draw. But as long as Brighton score, for me, they win this game. So, 2-0 Brighton. Everton versus Leicester City is next up. Leicester haven't been in awful form in recent weeks. Yes, they lost to Man City in their last game. But they beat Wolves 4-0. They beat Leeds 2-0. That's pretty good going. They got a draw against Palace, who are a good side. They're doing really well. And Everton, I think they're doing quite well as well. A 0-0 draw with Fulham, on the face of it, doesn't seem great. But let's remember where Fulham are. They're up in 7th. They're in that Conference League spot. You've got to put some respect on Fulham. And in research, the 0-0 draw from Everton isn't that bad. I have to say, I find this one somewhat hard to call. I don't know which way to call it. I really, really don't. I think this is from a neutral. This is going to be one of the most interesting games of the weekend to see how this goes. I'm gonna go, for a 2-2. No, 2-1 Everton. No. 2-2. See that you can see there how I just don't know. I really don't know. I'm even looking at that. I really don't know. I really don't know. As I said, it could go any which way. If Everton win, I'm not surprised. If Leicester wins, I'm not surprised. It's one of those where whatever I put and whatever the result is on Saturday, I'm going to sit there like, I knew it'd be that. I knew it. Why did I not go for it? But if I remember correctly, this game is actually on Sky as the late kickoff. Let me double check that, but I believe it is the late kickoff. It is the late kickoff on the Saturday, so it's a great game to watch as a neutral. So I think I'll certainly be tuning in. Actually, no, will I? I'll probably be tuning in for it. Chelsea versus Arsenal. The first game on Sunday. It's actually the early kickoff this weekend. this game at 12 o'clock on Sunday as opposed to 12:30 on Saturday for whatever reason. It's the game on BT Sport. And this is a bit interesting. Obviously, Chelsea, since Graham Potter's have arrived, have been pretty good. However, Arsenal this season, they're a reason why they're top. They have been fantastic. Having dropped 5 points from this season in 12 games, that's unbelievable. That's like the Man City, Liverpools of the last few years. It's a great start to the season for them. And can they keep on doing it? Can they keep on ticking over? I have to say, I think they can. I like Chelsea, but I really like what I see from this Arsenal team. I really, really do. Chelsea have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of injuries at the moment. And to key players as well. N'Golo Kante, Kovacic, Denis Zakaria might be out. Hold on. Sorry, Kovacic looks like he will be back. Same with Zakaria. Chilwell's out. Fofana's out. Reece James is out. That's a lot of first team players. And yes, they've got players to kind of step in. Kukurea, for example. I don't think they're as strong as this Arsenal team, who they have their full team, their full first 11. They have, because we know the starting 11 that Arsenal will play every game, more or less. It's Ben White. Well, it's Ramsdale, Ben White, Saliba. I was going to say Salisu. Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, or Tierney. Both of those are fit. It's Partey, it's Granit Xhaka, it's Martin Odegaard, it's Saka, it's Martinelli, and it's Gabriel Jesus. Every single one of those players are fit. And against a Chelsea team that are depleted, that have just been battered by Brighton, Arsenal are winning it. And they're getting 3 more points. And I'm more certain on this than I was about the Forest game, the Everton Leicester game. I'm pretty confident, in my opinion, that Arsenal will beat Chelsea by 3-1. No, 3-0. 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. I don't give a shit. Arsenal are beating Chelsea by 3-1 at Stamford Bridge. Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Now, as I said earlier, this is Unai Emery's first game in charge of Manchester United, which makes this game quite interesting. They're not the team that they won't be the team they were under Steven Gerrard, unfortunately, because we would have beaten that Steven Gerrard team quite easily, in my opinion. However, how good will this Aston Villa team be? I don't think they'll be great. And hear me out. In their last game, they lost heavily. 4-0 to Newcastle. And Unai Emery's only just come in. I mean, let me find out. He arrived 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So he's going to have about 4 days with these players before we play them. In that time, that's not really enough time to teach them much, go over loads. So we're going to still see some Steven Gerrardisms in them, in that team. We're going to still see a bit of AJ Danks in them. This isn't going to be an Unai Emery Aston Villa team just yet. Because of that, United, who are in great form, playing some great stuff, just beat West Ham, beat Real Sociedad. We're gonna be strong. Yes, United are missing Bruno Fernandes, who is a big player for us, of course. That's not going to stop United winning this game. 2-0 Manchester United, easy as that. Southampton versus Newcastle is next up. And I'll try and keep this one fairly short because I don't think it's that interesting of a game. Newcastle are going to win, aren't they? You're looking at the Premier League table. Southampton are down in 17th. They've got a few injury problems, while Newcastle are in 4th. They're playing some great stuff at the moment, Newcastle. And I think Eddie Howe deserves so much kind of praise for the job he's done there. They are absolutely fantastic, Newcastle, and people like to just kind of throw they got taken over, they've got loads of money as kind of a reason to justify why Newcastle are doing so well. Completely forgetting the fact that they haven't spent loads. Yes, they've spent big on Isaac or Isaac, however you pronounce it, but Bruno Guimaraes was like 40 million. That is a 40 million pound player. They spent what was it, 20 million on Trippier, 20 million on like I can't think of everything they've signed. Like Matt Target, if you combine Matt Target, Dunk, Trippier, and Botman, they're the 4 defenders they've signed. It's like 70 million in total, or something crazy like that. And it's like, that's not a Saudi owner buying a club and just spunking money. That's just what Premier League clubs have. And yes, more money will be spent, but they've not just spunked their money on whoever, like you've seen in the past from Chelsea, from Man City. This is a good Southampton. This is a good Newcastle team that have earned the right to be where they are. I'm going 2-0 Newcastle. West Ham versus Crystal Palace is next. Again, look, both teams are good. I have to say, both teams are good. I think it could be a really close game. You're looking at the Premier League table, and they're pretty evenly matched, you have to say. West Ham up in 13th. A little bit lower than they would have liked, of course, but still pretty good. While you look at Crystal Palace, where are they? There they are, in 10th. It's all looking good for those two. West Ham will continue to slowly but surely climb the table as time kind of progresses. But all in all, I think both teams are good. And this is going to be a really close game. Who has that little bit more quality will make the difference. I'm going to go 1-1. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised it could go either way. So, the final game of the game week, I mean, I really should get something behind that Tottenham logo. There you go. It's Tottenham versus Liverpool. And I don't know. I really don't know. Because at some point, surely, Liverpool have to kind of return to normality. They have to improve. They have to step up and start playing the way they should play. But it doesn't seem to be happening. At the same time, Spurs are rubbish. They are third, yes, but their style and their way of playing is dreadful. They play some of the worst football I've seen from a top club in years. But it gets them results. We saw that against Bournemouth. They played badly, but they got the result. Same in Marseille. They didn't play great throughout the game, but they got the result they need. And we've seen this time and time again. Spurs just somehow get the job done. And because of that, it makes this game really hard to call. Because Liverpool could get back to their best, but they could not. Spurs, they play crap stuff, but somehow they get results. I really don't know. I really don't know. Maybe we'll have a look at the injuries. I know Son's out, isn't he? Heung-min Son's out. Lucas Moura is hit or miss. But so is Bentancur and Kulusevski. They're big. Romero's out. Richarlison's out. Heung-min Son's out. So that front line is looking pretty weak for Spurs. There's no guarantees that both Bentancur and Kulusevski are available. Same goes for Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura isn't a great footballer either. Liverpool, they have got injuries, but I don't look at those injury lists, and apart from for Luis Diaz and potentially Diogo Jota, I guess Jordan Henderson, I don't look at them and think, oh, they're guaranteed players. And Jordan Henderson's back, actually. So I think Liverpool are fully strength. Usually, will Liverpool turn up, though? I was going to say usually they turn up against the big teams, but they didn't turn up against Arsenal, did they? Didn't turn up against Man United. Turned up against City. I'm going 2-2. Big cool, 2-2. Boom. There we go. So, to run through all the predictions once again. If you guys want to let me know your predictions in the live chat, please do. But first game, Leeds versus Bournemouth. I'm going 2-0 Leeds. Man City versus Fulham. I'm going 3-0 Man City. 2-1 to Forest against Brentford. Brighton will beat Wolves by 2-0. Everton and Leicester City. Oh, hold on. Everton and Leicester City will finish 2-2. Chelsea will lose to Arsenal by 3-0. Man United will beat Aston Villa by 2-0. Newcastle will also beat Southampton by 2-0. West Ham, Crystal Palace will finish 1-0. And Spurs and Liverpool will draw 2-2. So that is going to be it from me today. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button below and subscribe if you are new and you haven't already. Helps to get this ticker in the top corner going up. And I can see some of you have subscribed while we've been live. So if you are still in here, thank you so much for that. But yeah, thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one in a bit. Peace.